So first off, the first question is that I ask all the candidates to introduce yourself. So who are you and why are you running? And first up, please, Maggie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Margaret from EYP Luxembourg, but I'm based here in the UK. I believe in our missions and values in EYP, and I really want to give back to the network the best way that I know how. I've recently been president of EYP Luxembourg. It has showed me a lot about how we operate as a network. I've come to truly appreciate our differences, and I believe that there is strength in our diversity. I care for the people, and this is why I want to commit to safeguarding EYP and strengthening our welfare system from the ground up. I also want to simplify our international governance and bring it closer to every single member so that we can really use the full breadth and depth of our democratic tools. I don't believe it's enough to be transparent, but we must also be visible to every single member.
Thank you. Next up, Theo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Théophane Gauthier, or Theo. I'm from EYP France, and I'm running for the governing body because I believe the next mandate will be decisive for shaping the future of our organization, especially with the EYP strategy from 2028 onward. I joined EYP in 2017, and over the years, I've served as communications officer, regional vice president, chair for international affairs, and last year, secretary general. These roles, which means working closely with volunteers and staff across 6 regional committees for more than 150 years yearly activities, shaped my conviction that strong national committees are the key to a strong international network. And this is why my priority will be first on helping NCs grow sustainably by sharing best practices and offering targeted support with the task force. Second, broadening our understanding of diversity, including rural backgrounds, overseas territories, and young people arriving in Europe and with an international mobility fund. And thirdly, by ensuring EYP remains a sanctuary for democratic values at a time where they are increasingly being threatened. And I want to bring a leadership style that is based on listening first, speaking with purpose, and acting efficiently. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I know how to work, how to learn, and build solutions together. And that's what I want to bring to the GB.
Thank you. Next up, Stefan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stefan. I come from Romania. I'm 25 years old. A bit about me. So I'm a computer science graduate. I studied in UK, in Manchester, where I currently live, and work full-time as a software engineer. About me as a non-UI peer, I love animals. I have like a mini zoo in my flat. I have like a corgi. I have lots of animals. I'm obsessed with zoology. So like if you want to know about anything marine zoology, do hit me up. I am a bit of an Eurovision nerd, walking wiki of Eurovision. And yeah, those I would say like are my main interests. When it comes to UIP, I have started in 2019. Ever since worked with so many young people for so many events all across Europe. And also since 2023, I've been the president of UIP Romania for 2 terms since the re-recognition, where we managed to fully reshape how UIP Romania functions, building this transparent and democratic national committee. And kind of this inspires me to be a governing body. And that the reason why that is because within the UIP Romanian journey and rebuilding, I've worked with so many young people, not only Romanians, but all across network. I've heard so many stories. I've heard so many concerns. I've heard like so many people that are motivated and passionate, and I really, really want to like help them have their voice heard, as well as give them a platform to evolve and grow. So yeah, that's me and my aims.
Thank you, Stefan. Next, Julia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julia, and I'm 25 years old from Poland. I've recently graduated with a master's in international relations. However, I'm now currently working full-time in PR and marketing. Something about my UIP history is I started back in 2017, and in 2020, I've joined the board of UIP Poland, first as a national coordinator, which was taking care of regional coordinators, then project manager, and then for 2 years I was working as president of UIP Poland. And now I'm ending my second term as audit committee member. Something that motivated me to run for a governing body is conversations with UI peers who identified issues. I also identified issues, and I would love to work on resolving them, on bringing forward the perspectives of our members. And I think that's my biggest motivation.
Thank you. And Ali?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Ali Maeve. My pronouns are she, her. I was originally from Ireland, but now I live in Berlin and I'm really excited to be running for the governing body. Outside of life in EYP, I'm a research scientist, so I work in breast cancer research, and this is really my passion. When I'm not in work or in EYP, I love to dance, I'm a ballerina, and I really like to smile and to laugh. I think I would say are my biggest hobbies, honestly. What inspired me really to run for the governing body was that last week or the week before last, I kind of culminated in my 7 years of active work in the network by presiding the international session in Malaga. And being allowed to see the network from this very macroscopic lens, from kind of a bird's eye view, and meet so many people from so many different national committees, this really gave me the inspiration that my time and the energy that I have in EYP is not yet over, and I have so much more I want to dedicate to the network. I take with me 56 EYP events worth of experience, 2 terms on the Safecourt team and 1 on the IORCST, which is the complaints team. And I really just want to make a difference. I want to connect EYP to the world outside of it, pushing for more active citizenship and really making use of this very interesting opportunity we have as a potential future governing body to work and build the strategy for EYP for 2028. So that's a bit about me. And
Thank you, everyone, for these very well-timed answers. So next, we have some prepared questions, and I'll start with the first one. For the candidates, please know that you can answer for 1 minute and 45 seconds. And the first question is, what do you think is the biggest issue the EYP network is facing, and how would you work on solving it? And first up, Stefan.
Yes, I think one of the biggest issue that the UIP network is facing is that sometimes most of the NCs do not feel heard. And what I mean by that, with conversations I had with fellow UIPers from clusters, from BNC meetings, they still feel that certain governance decisions do not take them into account fully. And they don't like kind of involve them enough when it comes to that decision. I feel that the GB has improved this year. I think the openness for towards the NCs improved significantly, and that the NC have more of a voice, but there's so much more work that can be done there. And why do I say that? Is because I feel that the GB should always work for and with the NCs and pre-NCs, not against them, or not to feel that is like this detached, separate body. So in order to resolve that, I feel that we could like focus even more on GB cluster checkings or even NC checkings, the casual ones, to talk to the member, to hear their concerns, to let and have this platform for them to like raise anything they wish to do so, and also to shape our decisions based on it. This is the reason why I feel my candidacy is happening this year, because I really want to work on this, and I really want for the NCs to feel that they are the backbone of UIP, which they are, because with no NCs would have no members and no events and nothing. They introduce all the people we work with within our network.
Thank you. Next, Ali.
Yep. So I think twofold, what I see as kind of the biggest challenges that the network is facing at the moment might seem like an abstract concept, but I promise I'll explain, would be a general lack of creativity and also coupled with a bubble that we find ourselves in. To explain the bubble, I think we can all say that as delegates, we might have encountered a topic at a session that really inspired us, but the bubble pops at the end of an UIP session, we return to normal life, and we have no fulfillment of this motivation and the skills that EYP gives us into the real world. I think that the role of the GB and one of the biggest challenges that we should face is in this lack of active citizenship and giving our participants actual tangible steps to achieve these goals. I think the GB is uniquely primed to make very strategic pan-European partnerships with other NGOs, other civic organizations, to give our participants the chance to put the skills that EYP gives them and the motivation into real life. And this is something I really think we should be pushing for. The other thing, the creativity thing. I think we can all sit here and, as Stefan said, and as many people after me will say, the network is encountering a lot of issues, such as the lack of willingness or capacity to host future international sessions, which will be a big challenge that our GB term will face, a HR crisis, etc. And I think that this can really be solved with bringing creativity back into EYP. The governing body's role is to set strategy, direction, motivation, and vision for the network. And I think we need to be more creative in how we push outside the standard format of sessions that we keep hosting. I think we need to look at more thematic sessions, small scale events, increased international fora, and the role of the governing body being to support that and to set strategy for this, to give our participants a real connection and bridges to the outside world so that when they leave EYP as alumni or as active members, they'll have skills that they can take into real life with them.
Thank you. Maggie?
I'd really say that the biggest issue is really having the support that is there for ESPs and for NSPs. A phrase that I've heard a lot, unfortunately, is like, I'm glad I wasn't an NSP, or like, I'm never going to ESP again. And for me, I think that's a really big shame because this role is so important, vital in safeguarding everyone. And I think that there should be more support in these roles, which is why I'd really like to cushion the position a bit more and reinforce what information is passed on at each level to ensure such consistency. Which is why I'd like to build into the framework of the upcoming welfare platform, really having those onboarding modules for everyone there so that it's accessible and so that, well, to put it simply, everyone kind of knows what to expect in this position after running through some crisis scenarios and reinforcing the knowledge that's already out there and kind of consolidating it into one area that's easy to access and easy to understand. Another issue, I guess, less on the focus point of everyone's mind is international governance. A lot of people do find it very cryptic. I can tell you, I haven't been around for very long, but in this time, I've understood it enough to explain it to other people who have been around for longer than me. That shows it's very much possible to understand, and we can all definitely do it. In this, I do want to bring members closer to the international governance because it's important for members to understand how is their NC representing them, which issues are currently prominent, and even partake in these discussions so that we can use our full democratic tools available. This is why I want to introduce the mailing list, and also something for NC board members is to revamp that guide. It's not too hard to understand, and it's definitely not that hard to participate in.
Thank you. Julia?
Thank you for the question. Regarding the most pressing issues, I think that one of them is the lack of institutional knowledge that we have. We have a lot of guides, we have a lot of archives such as IS Materials Archive that are not being updated and are not having the innovations from last year's. And I also think that, building on what Ali said, this lack of information is not allowing for showing innovation in the current events because people do not know how things worked, what worked, why it worked or why it didn't work, and what could be done to improve it. So that's why one of my main points is to update and take care of those guides, those archives, so that they can be used for the future. Because I believe that the knowledge transfer and the skills transfer that those files, those basis could have for the members is extremely important, and we cannot lose the knowledge that we have. Someone during the debate on Discord identified the issue that we lost a lot of knowledge pre-COVID because our alumni left, and in case anything similar happens, let's hope not, we should not allow for losing the knowledge that we gained through COVID, because those formats were very innovative, and for events that happened after it. So in conclusion, I think that the most pressing issue is the lack of structural knowledge base. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, Theo?
Yeah, thank you. I'll try to keep it short, but for me, the most still pressing issue for the network is the human resources. We still feel the kick of COVID. We still have we still see how it has affected our work. We still don't. We're still near, but not yet up to the levels of pre-COVID participant numbers and session numbers. And so, why is it important? Because if we want to keep our network alive, we need more. We need to keep alive our NCs. We need the volunteering officers, and for us to renew the volunteering officers, we need those participants. And so you see how a circle comes in. And if we want the NCs to grow, well, we need more participants in order for them to join the board members. So you see, we still see how the COVID has had effects in national or international governance, and that's why we need stronger NCs for a stronger network once again. And this human resources crisis is also having an effect on the diversity we all share, the imperative diversity we all share. This is our commission to bring as much diversity in our participants, and without a large number of participants, we cannot ensure the diversity we all aim for. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go to the next question. For this, you will have 1 minute and 15 seconds to answer. And the question is, what is the first thing you would want to achieve as a GB member in January, and why? And first, I will ask Julia.
Thank you for the question. When it comes to the first thing that I would like to achieve in January, I would say that it is to have an effective first governing body meeting, to divide the portfolios, to make a good working plan for all of us, to have all of our priorities straight, to know what we want to bring in the next year, and for the three of us in the following year as well. So that we set the clear goals and we can work with them. Yeah, I think that this is something that I find the most pressing to have in January, to actually set those goals and have them, and maybe to have a nice team building, to get to know each other well, and to create a true team that can move forward for the stronger network.
Thank you. Next, Maggie.
I do have to echo what Julia said. I do also think that aligning in terms of vision and obviously allocating the portfolios and ensuring that as a team we can work cohesively, I do think is also very important. And I'd also want to achieve the same thing. More than this, though, I like to hit the ground running. I think the first, at least out of my 5 ideas, the first thing that would be not just the first thing I could implement, but that I kind of have already tried it myself, is the international governance mailing list for the members. I've tried it out. It's very much feasible. I do think it is there. And I say, why not? If we can have it set up before the next BNCM, I think it would be great already to start pulling in some members into there and kind of test driving how exactly this outreach would work on a network-wide scale to really bring in members already as close as possible to hearing directly from the international bodies themselves. And of course, on top of this, it would be, if elected, of course, taking a look into this new digital safety platform and building upon what has already been done.
Thank you. Ali?
Yeah, so I want to echo everything that's been said before me, setting the ground running, setting a vision and setting our portfolios. Adding on to this, 2 things that I think are vital that we discuss immediately would be the idea of having a governing body open hours. Something that I've mentioned a lot in the discussions we've been having on Discord is to open up the work of the governing body, have Q&A sessions where members can come and ask us, share their concerns, share their visions, and share their ideas to also help us guide our goal for the next year from January on. And the second thing that I think is very important is that we set a proactive plan in place in case we have a future event where there is no IS suitable hosting country. And I think this is really vital for me, that we need to begin to plan this occurrence in advance. It's going to be a problem we're going to keep encountering while the HR crisis is on, and while the cost of living is rising around Europe. It's going to be a problem. Let's set a plan in place now to tackle what we will do if this occurs in the future. Will we turn to IFs like has been done previously before? Will we look at other types of creative event formats and thematic events that NCs can host, and how we're going to best support them in the process where we might encounter a lack of future IS applicants? So that's my plan for the start of the year.
Thank you. Next, Fia.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll join what has been said before. I mean, I don't have anything to add concerning aligning visions and setting out priorities because I think we all have a different perspective, and it's amazing to see how different ideas can build something really concrete for the whole network. So I think this first step is necessary, as well as knowing to get to know each other and see how we can move forward. So now, once the portfolios have been assigned, I think the priority shall be to begin the recruitment or opening the applications in a way for the GB associates. You might have read in my manifesto how important they think they are, how important I wish for them to be in the GB decision making and GB work. So I think this is the priority, as well as if the GB as a whole wishes to go further, opening the strategic and operational thinking about the NC Task Force and the International Mobility Fund I am proposing, but only if the GB as a whole agrees, which is a prerequisite. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stefan?
Yeah, so apart from echoing that everyone said, setting a clear working path, team building, and understanding each other's working styles, I think Ali's idea of like having the GB open hour is great. It's already happened this year, and I really want to make that thing for every GB meeting. And the members should get to know the new GB members from the get-go. But an important discussion to have, I think, it's also around IS participation fees. So, based on the executive summary that was just sent today, the participation fees will increase from next year with a flat increase of 10%. And I do think that the new candidates should discuss with the staying GB members about the shared kind of view there, maybe rethink the decision and find other ways, consulting the NC and find other ways in which the ISs can truly become accessible to everyone, no matter where they come from, what is their financial background or situation. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for these always well-timed questions. Next, we move on to ISs, actually. So for this, you have 1 minute 30 seconds, and the question is, what is the core problem of hosting ISs, and what would you like to do about that? And first up, Theo.
Thank you a lot for this question, which is huge and large, to be fair. We've already been discussing it on the Discord, and I think the first thing, and on this, I remember how we, as EYP France, thought of the question, because this is a question we've been asking ourselves, and the first thing we had in mind was we do not have the human resources to both host an IS and run our NC on a daily basis. And I think this is where the central point is: how can we make sure a NOC is able to do both an IS and managing its NC on a daily basis? Because what an NC is doing on a daily basis is important to build up the future generation and to pursue its mission. More especially because when volunteers are going to be 100% on a majority time being on the IS, they might be not able to continue after 3 years of full engagement into NCs and then the NC fold itself. So I think that's it. And then also we have to think about whether the NCs have the means to their ambitions, to their thinking. As I mentioned it, and I'll conclude on this. Some NCs would like to implement diversity programs, multilingualism, or other specific things for the IS, and we have to give them the means to do it.
Thank you. Next up, Maggie.
I do have to second what Theo said about the HR, and yes, we did kind of touch on this in the Discord as well. To reiterate what I kind of said on Discord, for me, I think it would also be the financial aspect on top of the HR. I guess it's a bit ironic coming from Luxembourg. I'm talking about finances, but here we are. I would say it's truly about the budget. Not every NC has the capacity to, say, fundraise 6 figures. Usually that's the cost of ISs, or rather, there is some uncertainty in that aspect. Certainly for Luxembourg, I can tell you that private sponsoring is very difficult. But again, this problem varies for different NCs because other NCs, they rely solely on private sponsoring, others only on E+. So this varying financial landscape is really something that I think is quite hard to solve on an international level. More so than this. So I think really what could be done is probably more support, or maybe we could start some kind of knowledge sharing about the different practices that we have about finances, particularly for those who have hosted ISs. This could be great so that to understand really the different ways that can go about it, and potentially also some other cooperation with the HO, because after being behind the scenes of so many ISs, surely there's some stuff that can come out of it. And also inter-cluster knowledge sharing as well, particularly there. I think that's where it would be the most valuable, because certainly, at least in the Benelux area, we can learn from each other very well.
Thank you. Stefan?
Yeah, so I will also gonna continue in the financial aspect. I think lots of NCs feel when they have to host an IS or think about hosting an IS, they feel this financial pressure that an IS might impact on them. And how can we achieve that? I think as GB members, of course, we cannot really do fundraising directly for them, but what we can do is to talk to DIO and find ways in which DIO can support more the National Organizing Committee in like their fundraising issues in my fundraising strategy. This can be like a safety net, as I mentioned on Discord, in case the fundraising doesn't go well, or even to look into why the recent IS's like grant applications, why they weren't successful. How can we learn from that? How can we approach fundraising better in terms of NOCs and IO support, and how can the GB facilitate that? This on top of I believe trying to get those knowledge sharing for the ISs. As GB members, we can look and analyze what is missing, what are previous NOCs complaining about or raising concerns of guides that are missing, or what can be introduced more. And I think we can truly like introduce this more projected help so that previous ICE HOs and NOCs can give input so that the GB can come up with those guides for the future ones.
Thank you. Carly?
So I'll skip over the financial problem because I think many people have addressed this already fantastically. So I want to dive into my perspective as someone who has come out of last week presiding an IS, and also someone who at one stage was writing a bid to head organize an IS, that we as UIP Ireland eventually dropped this bid. And I think our reason for this mainly was, again, capacity building. Post-pandemic, we lost such an extensive pool of experienced EYPers. We're building from the ground up with young, inexperienced people again. We did not have the resources to both head organize an IS, taking with us all our most experienced organizers, and keep making sure that we're outreaching to our regional sessions, our national sessions, our outreach sessions. And I think this is a real thing. We simply lack the people. Something that I think is a great example of how you can overcome this, and I've seen a lot of fantastic examples in recent years, is NCs organizing quite large-scale international fora as a stepping stone to train their member space and also to train their NC to trial run to see, can we do two things at once? Can we do our normal work? And also, can we progress to something more creative, organizing a large-scale event like this? I think this is huge. And finally, something that came from Malaga IS last week that really inspired me in this is that head organizers from one session can create these fantastic links to external organizations, sponsors, patrons. For example, Malaga had the Union for the Mediterranean, this huge sponsorship body, and this is lost. And this could then be beneficial to many other NCs in the Mediterranean region. And this actual loss of knowledge and connections from one session to another is something that I really think should be addressed, and was something that we're a real pitfall in our financial strategy and our sponsorship strategies for sessions at the moment.
Thank you. Julia?
Thank you for the question. This is something that I touch upon quite a lot in my manifesto, and this is something that I'm really passionate about. I have attended several international sessions in the capacity of organizer, co-organizer, and in media teams. And some issues that I see, also being a person who was preparing a bid to host an IS, is first, the lack of HR, and second, also lack of the knowledge about past practices and reasonings why things happened. When it comes to HR, after Warsaw International Session in 2021, we lost a lot of members that were super experienced. And we had to try to rebuild DNC from ground up to have the base of members who would be able to even head organize national and regional sessions. And this is something that I identify still as an issue, that there are NCs that are struggling to find HOs for smaller scale events. Regarding the lack of institutional knowledge, I think I touched upon this quite a lot, but I think that this is crucial to share the governing body reports from the sessions. The last one is from Tromsø 2023 right now. There are no for the following ISs. And I think that alongside the bids that are shared publicly on members platform, there should be also shared reasonings why this bid was selected. What was so innovative about this bid that the governing body decided to grant that IS to the certainty? What was so good about this bid that
Thank
it
you.
really stood out? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. We will move on to the next question, just for the sake of time. Next question is about safety and welfare. Many EYPers remain critical of safety and welfare policy and system of safety and welfare preservation in EYP. What is one improvement point you would like to see for the system? And for this, you also have 1 minute 30 seconds, and first have Fia.
Thank you for giving me the floor again. I'd say, firstly, I want to thank everyone who's been involved in the welfare policy changes, policy renewal that we've been seeing these last few years. So, firstly, I want to thank the dedication of the Safe Core team, all the national safe persons, and even safe persons, because I think we have to realize how much of an, if it's not perfect, at some point of an example, we are to some other organizations, and I think we have to acknowledge that. And then I'll be very short, very simple. I fully agree with Maggie's vision. I'll give to her the whole credit of everything that needs to be put in place, because I won't take credit for it. She has wonderful ideas, and I wanted to see implemented.
Thank you. Next, Stefan.
All right. Yeah, what I want to say is I think there were quite a few steps that help with the safety and welfare in UIP. For example, me and Maggie decided, as we saw that there were two policies that kind of said kind of the same thing, to merge them. I think now at least we have one policy that deals with the safety in UIP, which helps with members trying to like understand it and not looking for two resources at once. I think the first step is achieved. In terms of like one improvement I would do, I think it's about Safecore team. Safecore team improved quite a lot in terms of the workings, in terms of the way they deal with the complaints, especially the complaints team and the response. But I think that has to be improved and kept going, because only that way the trust of the members into the Safecore team and all the welfare bodies we have will increase, and people feel that they can approach those bodies 100% and trusting them.
Thank you. Julia.
Thank you again for the question. Regarding one thing that I would like to improve in terms of safety, I need to echo what Stefan said about the long waiting period of the work of Safecore team. There was recently done a lot in terms of transparency of Safecore team work. For example, having the updates during BNC meetings. And I also love that there was a feedback form introduced for ESPs of the events to report anything that has happened during an event. I think this is a really crucial important thing that has happened. However, I think that the long waiting period for the things to be addressed, to be resolved, is something that is really discouraging many members from addressing the issues, because the way when it's half year, a year, sometimes even, it's too long. People don't want to go back to those things after that much time. And I think that this is something that I would like to find the ways to improve during my GB term.
Thank you. Next, Maggie.
Thanks for asking a question, question that's so, I guess, deeply tied to my manifesto. For me, I would say it's really building on the existing resources that we have, which is why I'm such a big fan of this welfare certification system. I, like the rest of the network, I'm not too clear on the details exactly on how this platform will look like, but nonetheless, I still do think that there are some key elements to include to ensure that it can really be tailored, really can be tailored best to what our members need, especially the safe persons that are doing a lot to take care of us. Again, to be highlighted that in these modules, it would mention our existing resources. So highlighting, for example, the ESP event evaluation form, and also all of the other existing trainings that members can take. I really do believe that it's something that we have to share the care for, and it is a shared responsibility to keep UIP a safe and welcoming space. It is not just one thing for someone to do, or one body in this case. And we should raise awareness about the channels that we have, either to report unsafe things or to complain or even sometimes file reports. I do think that this would also help curb gossip culture. I guess is also where the mailing list can come in handy as well.
Thank you. And Ali?
Yep. So I come with a long history on the Safecore team and the complaints team. I attended the first NSP training in 2021 in Berlin, mid-pandemic. And since then, I've had many years of experience with the Safecore team. So I think I can see this problem from both sides, as a member and as a member of the Safecore team. The long wait times are definitely an issue and definitely deterring people from sending their complaints to the complaints team. However, I think the root cause of this actually can be in how we've changed as a network over the time since the first ESPs were introduced in about 2019, I think it was, until now. And the definition of the role has sometimes been lost. And I think while we're doing so much to protect our members, we're sometimes forgetting to protect our ESPs and our NSPs and our Safecore team and our complaints team members. And I think they get a lot of the brunt of the mental toll of dealing with a lot of complaints, a lot of reports, and they're not being protected enough. And therefore, it's very difficult for us to get active people who want to be NSPs, ESPs, members of the Safecore team, members of the complaints team, that can then speed up this process. So I think we really need to look at how we are defining the role of an ESP, an NSP, a Safecore team member, etc. What is the scope of their responsibility? And making sure that we know when it is outside of our scope of care, when we're not trained to deal with things, when we're not competent to deal with things, and when we're not comfortable to deal with things. And I think this is my main thing, is if we can redefine this culture of what the role is, which I think has really been lost, and I've seen this being lost further and further in the last 5 or 6 years, then I think we can bring back that capacity building and the people we need, and then we can speed things up, and then we have people who are active, competent, engaged, and ready to help. Sorry, I went a bit over time. I'm passionate about this.
Thank you for this. Actually, from my side, a well-timed question or well-timed answer. Next, we move on to external communication. For this, you also have 1 minute 30 seconds. So external communication. At the moment, the policy and strategy and communication envision making statements as EYP on international and national level. For example, taking a stance in political or partisan affairs only when core of our work, the NGOs and civic education are directly impacted. Should this change? And if so, how? And first up, Stefan.
How much do we have to respond?
1:30.
Perfect. So I think this is a very important question to have. I believe that this discussion happened quite a lot at every capacity building event, and I think the GB also was fairly open to hear the BNCers, at least perspectives on how this should be. I think that there is no shoe-fit-all sort of solution as of now, and I think it's a very delicate change to have. I think enough people are upset about it that a change has to happen. But the question is how to change it so that the fine line between what is a good statement and what is a statement that is like not following the communication policy is like how to define that. And I believe there should not be any drastic change. And there shouldn't be like the GB fully vision on it. The NC should kind of be consulted on it before any change for sure, and maybe have a proper topic of debate first at one BNC meeting. Have those open hours. Listen about members like opinions as well, because like those statements are also kind of they affect our members as well. It's also our members' view. And after all that, after proper analysis to like do something about it, change it accordingly to what our members and the whole network needs, and to reflect better the wishes of the entire EYPers.
Thank you. Ali?
Yeah, I really echo what Stefan has said, that it's such a difficult situation and really should be taken in a case-by-case situation. I think we're on a very delicate line between showing our support maybe for some groups of EY peers in the network, and in doing so maybe alienating other groups in the network. And I think it really varies depending on what the case is that such a statement would need to be made. I totally agree that this shouldn't be a decision that's made by the GB or the BNC alone, that it should be something that the members are actually allowed to give their voice on. The suggestion that I had in my manifesto and over Discord of these GB open hours, where we can actually listen to members and listen to what they have to say about policy and proposals, even before maybe it's taken to the BNC for a vote, so that a huge members base can be heard and listened to when we're drafting such examples of policy changes. Another thing that I think is very sorry, I realized I didn't start my timer, so I hope I'm not over time. Cut me off, please, if I am, Linda. But another thing that I think is very important is to remember our past and remember examples of, for example, EYP Belarus, where EYP made a statement, and while it was in support of our members base who were being persecuted by their government at the time, this in turn endangered many of our members and many of our friends who were put in such danger by a statement being taken by EYP in support of them and their cause. It's a very complex situation, and I think it's something we really need to take case by case, not make a decision on our own, and really listen to the voice of members in making such a decision on changing such a very delicate, very important piece of EYP policy.
Thank you. It was perfectly on time. Next, Julia.
Thank you so much for the question regarding the communication. As someone who did quite a lot of work in terms of media, this is something that I really find that I'm really passionate about. Something that we need to remember when issuing statements is that EYP is independent and non-partisan. And I believe that whenever there should be any changes made to the policies, they need to be discussed with the members to see what they really want, and not only the NCs and through GB. Something that I would suggest to maybe do it a bit faster is to have more tangible examples in the communication strategy that are actually like examples of what statements can be and cannot be about, because there are some general words, but they are not really tangible. I remember that once we had a situation in UAP Poland when we wanted to issue a statement about human rights, and it was really hard to get that through. Sorry, I was looking at my timer. Something that I see that is needed in the network right now is to create another media lab as the one that was recently was in 2018. And I think that for that, we should rethink our UAP media mission, because that's what we are based on, what the media in UAP is based on, and what we communicate. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Maggie.
I'd say that we do need to adapt our policy on communications, but again, as I think almost every other candidate said, this does need to be a careful consultation and also exploring the full exact means as to where EYP can speak, and EYP should maintain the nonpartisanship. I did notice that in general, we are more of an educational platform, obviously in accordance with our missions. Done. But there are some things which do fall within the EYP scope, which can be addressed. For example, human crises, natural disasters, etc. These, let's say, more tangible things that do affect national committees. There was a workshop held in the BNCM most recently, which highlighted some aspects that NCs would like to speak more of. The results of this were shared. I think this conversation should definitely be continued, expanded more with the members, and also we should continue delving into exactly the nitty-gritties here, because I do think that there is some room to, I'm not going to say completely open the door, but at the very least, just crack it open just a tiny bit.
Thank you. Theo.
Yeah, thank you a lot for this question. And I think it's a very, very important question when essential European democratic values are at the moment being threatened. And I think this is really something that we ought to have in mind. These European democratic values that we live in EYP, that we base our work on, that we promote, they are being threatened across Europe at the moment. And I want the organization to stand by these values, it doesn't mean having a stance on everything, and it should not be it. I think the position we have at the moment is the good one, which is no communication until the moment it's threatening our members. And if any communication shall be released, it shall be done with the concerned NC, and it should come from them. It's not the GB who is once in the moment being like, oh, we should release Satan. No, the GB should take action on this whenever the NCs needs support from the GB to take a stand on something. And so the green light system already exists in communications policy at the moment. It's been discussed several times in BNC meetings. So I think the actual system, the current system, sorry, is a good one. But EYP has values, and the international network needs to stand for these values. So thank you.
Thank you. And next we move on to a question about GB dynamics. For this, you have 1 minute. And the question is, how would you approach disagreements in the governing body? How would you balance having everyone's voice heard while simultaneously trying to reach a compromise? And for this, we'll start with Ali.
Okay, so I think I take into this my many experiences chairing and my many experiences in group dynamics. I think EYP has primed us for this, which is disagreements with each other. How do we find a middle ground? Is this not the purpose of all we do in EYP? Is to meet someone with a different opinion to you and to somehow find a common ground in between the two. I think the one thing that I would do in this situation is take respect into everything that I do. And it's a real core value that I am, that I may not be able to understand your point of view, but I want to learn and I want to understand why you came to that decision and why you have this belief, even if it's very different from my own. I think I'm never someone that's stubborn in my belief. I always like to be proved wrong. If someone can show me why my belief and my opinion is wrong, I'm always happy to learn and always happy to see a new perspective. I'm not a very confrontational person and I like to work in this way. I like to ask why and I like to understand why most of all. And I think this brings a real humanness to my interactions with others and my disagreements with others. Just trying to see something from someone else's point of view. That was a very chairperson answer of me, but yeah.
Thank you. Next up, Julia.
Okay. So regarding the possible tensions within the governing body, I think that something that we all should work forward as a governing body is to ensuring that everyone can speak and everyone can voice their opinion, and to create that safe space for all of us to discuss and not to hold on to our opinions and be like, okay, fine, but to discuss them, to make sure that everyone can listen to everyone and everyone is okay with listening to everyone. I'm a person who spent 2 years as a president of an NC, and I've dealt with different conflicts within the board. And I always try to create a space for everyone to voice their opinion, to say what they want to say, even if it was in private conversations, and then through that channel dealing with bigger issues that were arising. And I would try to bring the same approach to the governing body.
Thank you. Theo.
Hey, thank you for this question, which is directly linked to what the GB must be about. The GB must do strategic thinking on the future network. It should focus on the strategy. And so that's why having all these different opinions and vision is amazing, because we see how there are different visions and different strategies that can be thought for the network. And what are my main points here is, if I've got experience before in national governance with the regional committees of EYP France, which can be very French and very, have their stance in a way. I also have an international governance experience in BNC. I think what I want to highlight is that I will make mistakes. I will make mistakes, and I want to learn from these mistakes with everyone on GB, with the NCs, and that I do not have all the operational answers. Please give me these answers because I need them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Maggie.
For me, I would say I like to listen more and talk less. So I think that inherently would kind of come into I think there will always be like the kind of the loudest voices in the room, and I would probably hear them out first before pitching in my idea. So I do naturally also create that space. And as Julia said, I've also presided an NC board, and you have the conflicts, my dear. But again, we just do our best, right? I will never claim to be an expert in anything. I think I would more listen to those who, this is their field of expertise. I will pitch in other things that I think could work better, other things to consider. But ultimately, if I have an opinion and, a lot of us disagree, there is always voting. I think that's a very good way to also put certain things kind of, split the room in two. But if there's a tiebreaker to be done, I don't know, hopefully there's an odd number of people in the room, I guess.
Thank you. And lastly, Stefan.
Yeah, so apart from echoing that everyone said, I think it's very important to acknowledge that having a personal view and share it, it's part of the democratic values that we should follow. Everyone has a view and everyone has a voice. However, going back to a previous question, I think that's when the first GB meeting is very important. That's when you actually set the dynamics. That's when you understand kind of how everyone works. You set the ground for future collaboration. Of course, there will be discussions, there will be disagreements, but I think we should keep in mind that the GB works for the network. It's normal to have those different views, but we should always keep respectful, open-minded, transparent, and like if something doesn't work, if there is a conflict or a tension, I think we can resolve it. We're all adults, we are all experienced, and I think just approaching it honestly and personally and directly, without building up unnecessary conflict is the way to go.
Thank you. So yes, next up, there will be this part which I've mentioned before. For this, you have 30 seconds to ask the question and 1 minute 30 seconds to answer. So each one of you gets to ask a question from one of the other candidates, and in turn, the person gets time to answer. First up, Ali, you can ask the questions from whoever you want.
Yeah, actually, so I was listening through the debate and I actually have no further questions to ask my fellow candidates. I think you all did fantastic, and I just wanted to say that and take my 30 seconds. And I would love if this time could be pushed to the end to allow for more members' questions, because this is what I would really like, is to listen to what people have to say and what people have to ask of us. So yeah, I want to thank you all for an amazing debate thus far, and I'd like to donate my time to the end.
Okay, thank you. Julia, do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question for Theo. I have a question regarding your manifesto, because you mentioned that the international network needs more structure to act in a united direction in your manifesto. And I wanted to ask, what tangible changes in the structure are you proposing?
1 minute and a half.
Yes.
I'd say if I said it needs more structure, it's in a way that because there are stronger national committees, there is more structure, and it's because the national committees are more resilient that the international network can be more resilient. So now, maybe on the tangible actions. Firstly, I want to put forward what Stefan mentioned in his manifesto, because I think his part was also very good, and I like the way how he distinguished the different NCs and they in the different states and the diversity of NCs in the development we have. So that's something I really enjoyed. And secondly, on the NC task force that I am proposing, I think here the thing is I don't want to have any more guidelines. To be fair, I'm tired of guidelines. Guidelines are just not read, and I think they can be useful. But I think if we want impactful actions, we need a task force that will accompany NCs on individual projects. If an NC wants to be accompanied throughout 3 or 4 months on a specific thing, being fundraising, being internal governance, they should be accompanied by a task force made of alumni and GB members, but on specific things rather than general NC support.
Thank you for this very well-timed answer. Maggie, you get the question.
I do have one question for Ali Maeve, because you focused a lot in your manifesto for about alumni engagement and active citizenship. And I mean, right now we're seeing that the Alumni Association is to be created into like its own official entity. So I just wanted to know, I guess, what would be the first thing that you do in this portfolio and how you would develop it.
Yeah, so actually this was launched at Malaga, so I actually had the chance to meet and discuss with it's the Alumni United project with the Eon Foundation. And this is something that really excited me and actually quite inspired me to write this part into my manifesto. I think the first thing I would do is I know that the International Office currently has a very large database of the alumni and of contact information of alumni. And something that I have done in the past a lot when I have presided sessions is include alumni as experts in events. It's bringing them back in this role where they can actually contribute, recognizing the fantastic careers that some of our alumni has had outside the network, and using that more than just social happy hours, but actually bring them back into the network, letting them see what we're doing right now, and letting them give their feedback and ideas for how we could improve. As I mentioned also in my manifesto, a lot of NCs are having issues with NC boards with lacks of experience, having lost a lot of members pre-pandemic. We're not going to bring these members back, but let's bring them back as in advisory roles, in supportory roles for our NC boards, and let's see where this goes. I think partnership is an ever-evolving thing, and one small step can easily snowball into lots of new opportunities. So I think it's really about that, looking at our alumni more as tools that can be very well used in the network and less as just social happy hours and things like this to bring them involved. So yeah, thanks for the question, Maggie.
Thank you. Theo, you get to ask a question.
Yeah, very sorry, Ali, it's going to be for you again. I had a question because I think all four of us have experience in international or national governance, and I think what you stand out in is having not having this experience. And so I'd like to know, how do you think it will impact positively the GB's work?
Yes. Oh, thank you, Theo. I'm really glad to have this question actually, because I think it is my USP or my unique selling point. And something that I'm very proud of is that I am one of the majority of EY peers in the network who has for some reason not been involved in their NC board. For me, I studied and I lived abroad. It was never really an option for me to do so. And it's something I'm very proud of. My experience stretches beyond my own NC. It expands into many NCs, the 56 different events that I've attended in every role under the sun. Bar editor, I never had the media brain in me, but I tried my hand at an MTM and I was proud of this. And I think the role of the GB is not only to serve members of the NCs and the BNCs, but it is to serve members in itself. And this has been a real driving force in my thing. I want to be a voice for members. I want to be the person that can be turned to at a GB open hour that I suggest we have, where an organizer from an NC somewhere that I've never been can turn and give a suggestion, give a concern, give a question, and then I can be that connection to you all with your fantastic experience in the BNC and with NCs, and I can be that bridge. I'm someone that's seen on the ground what our members need. Most recently, I mean, I was an official last week. This was the last time that I was an official in the network, you know? I have this freshness, but I also have 7 years of experience of this freshness. I've seen how the network has changed. I've seen how it's grown. I've seen how our members can be forgotten. We set these fantastic strategies and visions, but do we think of the people who are going to be the ones implementing them, which are mainly our active members? And I think we forget this. So this is really what I want to be. My manifesto is all about building bridges between members and the
Thank
NC.
you.
And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And yeah, lastly, Stefan, you get to ask a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Margaret one question about one idea I see in your manifesto. So I see that you want to introduce a revamp of the BNC guide map that you sent before to keep better the BNCMers, which I find commendable because as a first-time BNCMers, I also was scared and I did not understand what was going on. But how would you make sure that this will be used? Because sometimes these tools remain, even if they're great, remain vastly unutilized. So like, how will you tackle that part?
Thanks for the question. Well, first of all, I'll tailor it to the content that NC boards need. Obviously, it makes no sense to have a resource that doesn't answer anybody's questions, right? Second of all, what I find really nice is that whenever there's an NC board change, the IO sends each board an email with like all of the information that they should update, et cetera, et cetera. I think it would be really handy to put it in there as well, just to say, hey, you're going through a transition period right now. Here's something very specific for international governance to kind of help you to springboard you into the next BNCM. Yeah, I think those are really the two main things, aside from obviously putting it on the members platform, raising awareness about it into the Discord. And if again, if NC boards want to know about the voting quorum for each and every single policy, we can put that in as well. But I think for me, the important thing is running through obviously that diagram, updating the structures in the network, kind of explaining a little bit what they do. And I think what is more interesting is maybe how to go about these policy proposals and topic of debates. I think that would be more interesting for NC boards, especially, and kind of how to engage with their members with this topic, because it's kind of complicated.
Thank you. Now we will go to the audience questions. As I understand, the chat has been open for questions. So everybody who has a question, please type it in. So in general, it would be nice if you could keep your answer to the 1 and 1.5 minute limits. So yes. Yep. So we already have our first question from Philip. And I will read it out. And whoever wants to go, just raise your hand and we'll see who goes. The current UIP strategy has a network that supports its volunteers and their personal growth as one of its pillars. How would you support, promote, and recognize volunteers from the lower levels up? I see Ali, so you're recognized.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm very enthusiastic about this, Philip, so I wanted to jump on and answer. A lot of my manifesto deals with how we can how we can take our volunteers and the skills we give them in EYP to the outside world, be that bettering their interests in different active citizenship organizations or pathways, be that in skills that they can progress into their career. And I think a lot of how we can actually support our volunteers and their personal growth is about connecting them to organizations outside of us, so that when they're alumni, when they've finished, we've given them actual tangible connections to the real world to take the ideas and inspiration they have in EYP outside of it. The GB is very primed to make these kind of European level connections. I speak a lot about it in my manifesto, and I know I have spoken already, but I think this is really it for me. It's we give them such skills, public speaking, confidence, intercultural understanding, etc. Let's now give them the bridge and the connection to take this into the real world when the session ends and when the bubble pops. Thank you.
Thank you. Stefan?
Yeah, so on top of that, Ali, I think that's great ideas, and I fully agree with those. But also in terms of like how to recognize the volunteers and the proper work, I think the GB should acknowledge those more. And I think opening up as a GB to the entire network, not only for the BNC, not only for like the BNC list, not only for the NC boards, but getting input from all of them would recognize the work of volunteers and will also make the volunteers feel heard, and also like they will feel the governance is closer to them. So I really, really feel that, apart from equipping them for after UIP life, as Ali said, it's also very important to kind of make sure that they are parts of our strategy. They are parts of our dynamics, and we keep them in mind with whatever we do, and we remain open and transparent to them and their ideas.
Thank you. So Maggie, followed by Julia.
Thanks for the question, Philip. For me, I think quite a number of my ideas was specifically around safety and welfare. It does touch upon directly how to support members, right? Especially with the ESP, module, English, sorry. And I do also have to second everything that Ali Maeve and Stefan said. For me, I think that would pretty much be it. In terms of promotion, though, I think we should be relying a little bit more on NC boards, but again, where the GB can always, let's say, opening the doors and allowing members to give in with that direct input. That I think is where the true power of our network of our network is. That is facilitating that communication, also opening that channel, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Julia?
Okay, thank you for this question. I think it's a very important question to be asked. And I will not repeat what was already said about supporting the personal group of volunteers, because I think what was said before was very comprehensive. I would like to say a bit more about how to support, promote, and recognize volunteers from the lower levels up. I think that's something that is not really promoted, is not really done, is giving the platform of UIP Network's Instagram to lower members volunteers, to give them the platform to be seen on those, and to make sure that the younger volunteers see people that are, okay, those people are my age, they are doing those cool things. I can also do those cool things. And I think this is very empowering, seeing that representation of younger volunteers, because sometimes when there are, for example, UIP friendship posts, those are posts of people that are slightly older and not the members who are doing volunteering at regional or national sessions, but those are other people who are on the BNC board, are part of national committees, but not really that directly involved in volunteering on those regional outreach sessions and so on. And I think that creating this platform from them would be a great addition.
Thank you. Thea, and then we will move on to the next question.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, I'll just give credit, not again, but someone else, to Ali, in what she's been saying in the manifesto. I think it's really good to point out the importance of the alumni engagement and then the institutional partnership that needs to be developed on the international level. Our relationship with the European institutions has an history, and I think we have to work more on how to build bridges again with those European institutions, because I think the first question on this that needs to be answered is how can we ensure the resolution booklets at the end of a session can effectively can be transferred to politicians as a whole, because that's what I was sold when I joined my first UAP session, that my resolutions would get sent to someone higher. And then on the second part, so that's the delegates part, and then on the officials and NC board members, we have to have a think about how can we promote and recognize the skills, the soft skills, the hard skills they've been developing into the sessions, into the daily NC management. We have developed a lot of skills. That's proper empowerment, and so we need to have the thinking. And I do not have the answers again on how to recognize and promote these skills they've been gaining.
Thank you. So next question is, and please try to keep your answer to 1 minute, lower if possible. Looking at most of your answers here and on Discord, I see you propose a lot of operational answers, which is fair, but the GB is first the strategic body of EYP. Based on that, how will you incorporate this aspect in your work if you get selected? And we start with Stefan.
Yep. Thank you, Jean, for this question. So I believe that before any operational change, the GB has to have a strategy in order to achieve it. So the GB here is for a holistic kind of wide image. Is try to get more views before doing anything operational. And I think it's very important to do that in order to have this democratic strategic alignment. Of course, for some portfolios, some more hands-on approaches are kind of more needed than for the others. For example, for NC support, I believe that a more hands-on approach where the NCs feel supported and pre-NCs feel supported and heard is needed, whereas for others, it's not. But yeah, I think as I mentioned there, you need the strategic aspect before any other operational aspect.
Thank you. Next, Julia.
Yeah, sure. I thought that we were going with the order of raised hands, and I thought I was the last one. So when it comes to Jean's question, thank you so much for it. I think it's really important, and I echo what Stefan said about the need to have a strategy and the need to have means to do the strategy. And I think that in our work, it is really important to collaborate closely with the existing bodies, the existing structures that we have, and it is the role of GB to move forward certain things, certain issues that are being raised and are being shown, and to respond to those issues with operational management. I think it was right under a minute.
Yes, it was. Thank you. Theo.
Thank you a lot for this question, Jean. The sole objective of the GB shall be to look middle and long term for the international network, and that's why I'm putting forward so much the next EYP strategy to come into my manifesto, because we are the GB who is going to be drafting this whole new strategy from 2028 on. And I want to really point that out. The GB is not an operational team. And that's why it's supported by GB associates and the IO staff, because it needs to have time to do this perspective, this long-term thinking, and the GB associates are here to help them with the operational tasks and to include the operational issues into the strategic thinking that will come afterwards for the GB.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thanks for the question. I do have to second what everyone has already said. Indeed, to really properly function at this level and to coordinate so many things with so many NCs, it's important to know which general direction we're going. So yes, I think naturally strategy would be the cornerstone of GB work. But more than that, I guess, how would we make sure that we think about the future? I guess we have to think about the future. It really is that simple. With every measure implemented, we do have to consciously think not just about the immediate effect, but about the long-lasting effect. For example, sorry to bring this up again, raising IS participation fees now, what will be the long-term effect of that?
Thank you. Ali?
Yeah, so thank you, John, for this fantastic question. While I was writing my manifesto, I decided to look back at the strategy and pillars and see kind of what ones I thought were not yet fully expanded upon, and what could then be built upon. So this was kind of how I went about writing it, and I think, as Theo has mentioned before, the strategy 2028 will be a pivotal thing for us to put these visions and ideas into practice. But this putting it into practice is something that I always think we should be very aware of, is who we're asking to put this into practice and what we're asking of these people to do. As Theo mentioned, we have the international office, we have member spaces, we have the BNC, we have GB associates. And I think it's very important for us that as we think with these big ideas and these big strategies and visions that we have, we remember the very people who are going to be implementing these visions and strategies, maybe long after we're gone from the network. You know, by 2028, our GB term will be well over, this strategy will be in place. And I think it's very important for us to remember who will be implementing these things long after we're gone, and of course the long-term effects of that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I do remind the candidates that if you you don't need to answer all of the questions. If you can skip them if you feel like so. So I will take the next question, which is from Ireland. Hi, candidates. We've heard a lot about HR during this town hall. What strategies do you believe GB can propose to alleviate the current media leadership crisis across the network? So who wants to go? Okay, Julia.
Yes. Thank you for addressing this question. I think that this is a very pressing issue that is seen across the network, and is a very valid one. Something that I would propose would to definitely have a topic of debate with national committees during BNC to see and explore the ways that we could encourage delegates to apply to be media team members during regional and national sessions. So to explore the ways that they would understand that they don't need to have the media skills to be a media team member at lower levels. Those are the things that we learn along the way. When I was a media team member for the first time, I had a camera in my hands maybe 2 times before, and I've recently edited an international forum in Turkey. So learning is possible, and this is what we have UAP for, and this is what I would really strive for, to give those delegates knowledge that they don't need to have the technical skills, because they will learn them, and to make the media team appear less scary. So I would like to, go through the ways to find the solution for that, because I think that this is a big issue that media team is seen as a very scary one.
Thank you. Theo.
1 minute, right?
Yeah, around that.
Cool. Yeah, so thank you for this question. It's really, for me, it's really special because I've been in a lot of media leaderships. I think we have to put that on a longer perspective. Once again, the media team we know now, with a lot of photos, videos, social networks, were nothing like the older media teams that were with the paper journals. So I think we might be in a new transition period once again. And now two things that to help the crisis going on, which is one, making media teams more visible to delegates. Delegates with their first session are in direct contact with their chairs, but they do not know quite enough what the media team is doing. So we need more visibility for media teams. And then there is a strong financial barrier to entry into being a media team member, because we need cameras, we need computers, etc. So we have, and I don't have again the solutions, but we have to think about how to cut this financial barrier.
Thank you. So we move on to the next question. What concrete measures would you introduce to make participation in EYP more financially and socially accessible so that it doesn't unintentionally turn into a rich kids club? Stefan, and try to keep the minute long answers.
Of course. I mean, building up on my previous answers and on Discord, unfortunately, I feel EYP already becomes to be a rich kids club. And if even our flagship event becomes so less accessible, how can we expect the NCs to work on accessibility when it comes to financial aspects so that everyone can afford it? So here I would say we need to rethink, first of all, the feasibility of the financial aspects, because in the end, kids end up paying and their parents end up paying for participating to UIP and traveling, as well as a great focus on outreach, trying to target those groups that we haven't. And there are some countries there, like UIP Serbia, who are doing great outreach. So I think NCs should share more knowledge on these terms, and also reflect on how to better approach those targeted groups.
Thank you, Theo, and then Ali. Yep.
Yes, thank you a lot for this question. I would say the first thing is from the ground up, and it should be how do we select and target the schools that will be doing sessions, and how do we select them? I know I have the previous experience in France, in which we try to keep a balance between the different profiles of schools that are applying to the session, and we even have diversity programs for specific schools to be at our sessions. And then I would say also that's what I want to promote throughout the International Mobility Fund. We know the travel expenses and the participation fees are a really financial barrier. So I want to open this strategic and operational thinking on how can we put an International Mobility Fund. And finally, on the IS participation fees, I think also we have to explore new ways of thinking them based on the country's income and macroeconomics parameters. But we have to rethink them, maybe with a flexible or fixed part, but that's it.
Thank you, Ali.
I keep this very short. I think we should solve this with creativity. A lot of our event formats in their current status rely on participants having a very strong level of English and have been provided with a very high level of schooling to have such a strong level of English as a second or third language that they can engage in very complex political debates. One of the pillars of the strategy we're currently experiencing in EYP is a network that offers a rich variety of methods, tools, and formats. Let's reevaluate our output in EYP. Let's reevaluate our methods. Let's maybe turn away from, in some events, from formulating very strictly academic resolutions and look at more grassroots examples. Engage delegates who might not have an interest in politics or in legislation or law, and bring them into our network too, so that we have a very socially diverse EYP network. I think that's my idea.
Thank you. I will take Maggie, but before that, I will say that for the sake of time, I will take a few more questions, 1 to 2 more questions, seeing how we'll have the time. But everybody whose question was not answered here, or even if it was, but not everybody answered, please post them onto Discord so that the candidates can answer them in Discord in writing later. So yes, Maggie.
I would say for social accessibility, it would be to really support NCs in their outreach efforts, which is why I'd really like to add to the resources that NCs can use. But with this DEI initiative, I mean, it seems like somewhat intuitive or like a quote unquote small thing to just have like a video. But I think that it would really accurately represent the people who are active in the network. And as such, when people do feel like, hey, I see myself in this organization, I resonate with the values, then they might be more incentivized to join rather than, say, not having this factor. In terms of financial accessibility, I think the financial capacity of each NC is quite varied in terms of what they can do. And on top of that, on the international scale as well, there is also limited things that we can do. But nonetheless, there are these little things that we can do to keep it accessible, particularly with ISs and international events, participation fees, revisiting the way that budgets are spent. These are some things that I think could be further thought through.
Thank you. So we'll take this one of the remaining questions. As someone who has unfortunately seen a lot of NCs derecognized during my time in the BNC board, as well as some initiative candidates which came and went, what do you think about countries in which there is no EYP national committee, and how should the governing body approach this, and to what extent? Stefan.
All right, so this is an area I'm super passionate about. This year I've been a GB associate for developing NCs, so I feel this should take a two-way approach. First of all, we could reach out to the countries that have closed down, see if there's interest there, or of course, we also know kind of other youth organizations. We could reach out for the countries that never had UIP, and we'll try to establish that. Okay, but that's one bit. We try to establish it, they start. But the importance and why I think many failed is how you start and how you give them the support from the get-go. That's why I believe in a separate portfolio for them. They really need special assistance more than other NCs, and it's very targeted. And they need energy, they need passion, they need knowledge there. And it's a very specific thing. And the way you start and put that ground knowledge down, it will kind of make or break their whole progress and make them be an NC or not make them be an NC. So I don't think it's only about reaching out to new countries, but also how you establish them once you have them.
Thank you, Pia and Julia, and then we'll take the next question.
To be fair, I don't have anything to add to what Stefan has been saying. I think what you build from the ground up in the first moments is really interesting, and maybe that's in the cases where the operational part of the GB needs to come in when it's really the first steps, and on the other side when it's the last steps and they need help from the GB. So, well, that's why I'm proposing the NC task force to focus really on these individual this individual consultancy, let's say, programs on a specific thing. But I won't say I have expertise on the subject. I come from the founding NC, and I need to learn on these issues from the rest of the NC. So I won't give the miracle solution.
Julia?
I would like to build a bit on what Stefan said already, that those NCs have those pre-NCs have very specific needs that needs to be addressed. And something that I would like to see happening would be to have a kind of mentors for them, people with experience from the network who would be role models for those people, who would be a great point of contact to helping them. Because let's be honest, being a governing body is a lot of work. And working with those pre-NCs as one person is also an enormous amount of work. So therefore, having one person per each of those NCs from the alumni base that we already have would help to ensure the quality of the help that is offered.
Thank you. We take the final question, and that is, dear candidates, how can we make more members engage and actually vote for the new GB members? As the percentage of people voting in the network, only 13% according among the eligible voters, excluding NCs last year. I guess this is somewhat related to how to make GB more understandable and approachable for the new members. Yes, try to keep your answers 45 seconds to 1 minute. Yeah, so Maggie, let's go.
Indeed, this is very much about raising awareness about our international governance and our procedures. Very much understanding is very closely tied into this, which is why I do have suggested new methods of which we can further get information out to people. Certainly Instagram posts help, but also I really do think the power of talking to people as well has a very big impact. I guess a positive type of gossip, let's call it. I think I can keep it as simple as that.
Thank you. Ali?
With only a couple days to go until voting opens, I think nothing that I can say or do now will be revolutionary for this election, but let's think of the next one. Let's think 1 year down the line. What can we do as potential GB members to then make the network and the role of the GB more accessible so that people actually know who we are, what we do, and want to vote for us? I think I bring back my idea of having more GB open hours, expanding this to members, not just relying on the BNC list and then NCs to pass the communication on to their members. Let's contact members directly. Let's be a voice and a presence for members directly. And let's hope that by 1 year's time, when the next GB election is up and coming, people know who we are, what we do, and want to vote and want to be a part of the democracy of electing the next us.
Thank you. Julia.
Yes, sorry. I agree with everything that was said. However, I would like to add on that. Maybe I'm wrong here because I did not check that fully. But I believe that all members that are eligible to vote are all officials from events from the last 4 years. There are some people that are out of UIP for a long time, and I think that this is something that is lowering the participation rate because those people are simply not interested anymore. And I think that maybe rethinking how we define our members here would be a good starting point. Because some of those people right now, of course, are people who just did their last session right after COVID and they don't want to be engaged anymore, which is understandable. And I think that rethinking that could also more from the ground help in making sure that more people engage.
Thank you. Theo.
Yes, thank you for this question. So my answer would be, well, first to I think get the GB's actions more accessible to NCs. The NCs are the ones talking to volunteers. So I think if the NC understands well what the GB does, well, it's will be better for the final volunteer. But most and foremost, I think if we want to improve turnout, we have to improve the action of the GB, and for the GB to have impactful action for more turnout, and seeing how the portfolios are the moment distributed, the large portfolios. I want to open strategic thinking, and this is a hot take for opening up the GB to opening it up to 8 or 10 members in order for the portfolio to be more distributed and then to have impactful action and make sure that the volunteers know what they vote for, because the portfolio will be better distributed, so more time to do this strategic
Thank
thinking.
you. Thank you. And Stefan?
I must say that I agree a lot with what Ali and Julia said on both those perspectives, and I want to build up more on the putting a face to the GB. So even if the officials are the ones eligible to vote, not all officials are involved in the governance, and that's fine. They should not be. However, most of them, because they're not involved, they don't understand anything apart from session officials' rankings. So that's why it's very important for the GB to continue to humanize this body, to promote it, to attend events, to try to do a GB meeting outside Berlin, to do Instagram takeovers. So it's super important to all the members, if they are eligible, to understand at least at the basic level what the GB does, and then they might involve in our elections as well.
Thank you. And now we will go to the closing statements. All of the candidates can have 45 seconds and no more to say something that you feel you need to say that hasn't been said, and you just need to say it. So this is now the time for your closing statements. Who wants to go first?
I can bite the bullet and go first. I'll be brave. So yeah, I wanted to thank everyone for this fantastic debate and such respectful questions. It's been truly fantastic. I've also really appreciated everyone who's messaged me and reached out to me for questions. As part of my manifesto, I really do want to be a voice for the member space of EYP, and this is really vital to me. I implore you, keep reaching out to me, asking me questions, and I hope I can answer them. Thank you to everyone who's been here and for promoting the democracy of EYP. I hope that if elected, I can help to bring some creativity and inspiration back into this new strategy we set for EYP. reaching out to new groups of people, trialing new formats and methods, and bringing creativity back into how we structure ourselves in EYP, which is something I would love to leave as my lasting message and thank you to this network.
Thank you. Stefan.
Yeah, I want to thank all the candidates as well all of our members in the network for like engaging with us, asking us questions, being open to hear our opinions because that's very important. It's part of the democracy, trying to hear everyone's voice and asking questions. As per like my GB kind of candidacy final words, I want just to say that if elected, I want to keep this collaborative and approachable perspective. I'll never gonna close the doors. I'll keep this mindset. And for me, GB and EYP means passion, means something that I do just because I enjoy it. I value this network. I value the volunteers. I don't want any personal gains out of it, no professional gains. So I really gonna put all my efforts and all my interest and all my like passion into all the work that is gonna come.
Thank you. Julia.
Firstly, I would like to thank all of you for attending here and thank you to the fellow candidates. I think this debate was very meaningful and a very great thing to have right here. I wanted to say that what I bring to the table are the results of conversations with many UIPers that I've had in the past, and that I want to continue on having those conversations and finding the solutions to the issues addressed. Yes, and I think I will go give the floor to Maggie now, as you're the next one raising hand.
Thank you to everyone who joined and obviously for all of your questions. Unfortunately, we didn't get to them all. Some of them did require a bit more, let's say, thought than the spontaneity would allow. But please do keep on sending them. For me, that is something that I really enjoy doing. That is listening to your problems and thinking of real, tangible, feasible ways to address them. I'm really more of a person about action. I think I said this in my manifesto that I do analyze the present and I understand the past to understand how we can improve for the future. This is definitely a mindset that is not just in me, but that I would bring into the GB if I am elected. So thank you very much again, and please keep on reaching out. I would love to hear all of your questions, thoughts, opinions. Please keep the engagement going.
Thank you. Theo.
Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for their closing words and their manifestos and visions because we see how democracy is really lived in EYP. And to conclude, I would say my candidacy is rooted in one single belief that EYP's strength comes from its people, our volunteers, our national counties, and the diversity of stories and backgrounds that shape nowadays our network. If elected, I will work to give NCs the tools and support they need to grow to ensure diversity is not just a value we state, but a reality we build, and to protect the democratic principles that make EYP such a unique space for young Europeans. While my approach is pragmatic, collaborative, and grounded in years of daily operational work, I don't claim to know everything, but I know how to work with all of you to make our network stronger. And I will be honored to contribute to that collective effort over the next 2 years. So from Thursday on, vote Theo.
Thank you, everyone, for those closing statements. And also thank you, everybody who came to listen and took an hour and a half of their time on this Tuesday evening to join us. Thank you very much for asking all the questions. If your question wasn't asked, please put them into Discord. I'm sure that the candidates would love to have a maybe even longer answer to the questions that were already asked, or to answer the questions that they saw but didn't have time to answer. And also thank you for the international office, of course, for hosting us here on Zoom and making sure everything is running smoothly. And yeah, thank you to candidates for coming here and more further explaining your views. And yes, I think we can call it the night, as I'm sure it's pretty late in some parts of Europe. So once again, thank you everyone for joining, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, the GB and the IO. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.